Hey guys, this is your girl Nikki Proverbs 31, and I'm back on to do a labor and delivery video. Hopefully, I can do this really quick. Okay, so it started. We had to be there at we were told to be there at 6:30 in the morning. When we got there, however, the nurse was like, "What are you doing? You're late." And they're rushing us back, rushing us to the back. Come on, hurry up! We gotta get you hooked up. And I'm like, "We were told to be here at 6:30." No, you're supposed to be here at 6 o'clock. I'm like, "Okay, all right, whatever." So I'm like, "We pre-registered, so I don't know what's the big idea." So anyway, they're going through all this stuff, and then when it's time to do all the questions of background, family background, history of you know health history from both sides, and I'm like, we already answered those questions. Not only did I fill the information in and send the paperwork in, but I also talked to somebody over the phone and went over, and then they pulled it up and she was like, oh my goodness, you did that already. No wonder they told you to be here at 6:30. Y'all, my computer's about to take off. So, for those, this is your first time watching one of my videos, my computer takes off like an airplane. So, I'm believing God for a new computer. But anyway, so um, we ended up sitting there for a while, and we were scheduled to go in at 8 o'clock. They gave me this nasty little drink that tastes like death. Yeah, it was kind of like lemon, and I was hungry and thirsty because the night before they said you can't drink or eat anything after 12 o'clock a.m. So I'm thirsty because pregnant. I like to drink water and stuff. Um, and I waited at 11:30. I was eating ice cream and cake, or ice cream and yeah, ice cream and cake. I was like, I'm gonna milk this to the end, milk this pregnancy to the end. They're gonna play me out on my last few hours of being pregnant too. So anyway, I took the drink. My mom and my dad and my siblings came to town, and how about they got lost? My mom was screaming to my son, just pull over and let her out, and she'll walk to the hospital. Drama, drama, drama. So I'm trying to calm her down and prep to go into the back. Waiting for my BFF to come. I'm like, everybody's gonna miss me. Not they're not gonna be able to see me before I go in the back because nobody's there, just me and hubby. So right before we were about to go to the back, they said that they had to do an emergency C-section on someone else. So I had to hold off. So we that gave my mom and my dad time to chill out and get to the hospital and stuff. So they got to the hospital, um, and we went to the back, and everything seemed normal. When you're doing a C-section, what they'll do is they'll they only require one person in my hospital, one person to go back there with you. So at first you go back there, and then they give you an epidural. They go over your name and information and blah blah blah. And so they were, trying to make me feel calm and was complimenting me on my wedding ring. And they were kind of like, so you just wasn't gonna let you take your wedding ring off? I'm like, no. Anyway, so we after they did the epidural and then laid me down, they let my husband come in. They strapped me down, and they were like, "You're not gonna be able to move." At first, I could move, and I was like, "It feels tingly. It feels like electricity flowing through, or like how when your leg or something goes to sleep and you start moving it around. That's how it felt." And then all of a sudden, I couldn't feel anything. I was like, "Whoa!" And I'm really trying to make myself move my feet, and I couldn't do it. So they had told us in advance that it would take about an hour instead of 30 minutes to do the C-section because of the fibroid. So we were already planning to be there a little bit longer. Um, and how they do it is after you have the baby, they take the baby to the recovery room while you're still finishing up with your surgery, and then you join the baby afterwards. Those who have C-sections. So Nia came out screaming and crying. Like I said, I have a video. I'm gonna try to just upload it. She's coming out screaming and crying. We were so excited, and then my husband left with Nia. And after an hour passed of them working on me, not the half an hour that it took for them to do all what they had to do to get her out, but after an hour of them working on me, I was in that process. I was vomiting profusely, which a lot of women I hear do when you have a C-section. Um, and then I started could feel things, and so they had already had blood on standby just in case, but they didn't think they would need anything. They had called it, but they didn't have it in the OR. So after a while, they were like, "We're gonna have to put you under because this is taking a little bit longer than we expected, and this is a little bit more." Um, difficult than they had expected. So they put me under. And when I came to, I know I remember bits and pieces. I do remember saying, "Oh, I'm in pain. I'm in pain. Something is wrong. Something is wrong." And but I don't remember from what my husband tells me. They looked and saw that I was just bleeding profusely, just bleeding. And so that's when they were like, rush me back into the OR. Meanwhile, most of my mom and my dad and them, they're out in the waiting room, not knowing what was going on and not knowing the severity of it. I remember when I was going to the when I was in the OR. When I was in the OR, um, they were saying, said something about hysterectomy, and I said, please don't give me a hysterectomy. And the doctor says, you're bleeding out, and if it's your life or a hysterectomy, we have to do what we have to do. And so I just remember, and they were putting me under at this point, and I just remember saying, God, please don't let them take my uterus. And I said, nevertheless, I trust you anyway. And that's the last thing I remember. So when I came to, Jeremy says that I asked about 40 times, did they take my uterus? Because I was just like, did they take my uterus? Did they take my uterus? Did they take my uterus? So I ended up having to get um, 4 units of blood and 3 units of plasma. Um, After that, you know, um, my husband was able to feed her formula right after she was born. Later on that evening, they showed me how to breastfeed. I don't remember that, but that's what they tell me. And the few days after that, I got, I got extremely swollen. I was extremely swollen. My vitals were off. My breathing, my oxygen was off. My pulse was off, and they were just really concerned about that. Um, they were concerned also because my bowels wouldn't move. I wouldn't pass gas or anything like that. They didn't want me to leave the hospital until at least I passed gas and or had a bowel movement. And so I told them my last 2 surgeries, I had the same issue. All the stuff you're giving me, the enema, all of that is not going to work. I mean, suppository is not going to work. Just give me a laxative, and that will help. So we ended up staying only an extra day, and then from there, um, the recovery was just hard afterwards because my hemoglobin levels when I left the hospital was 7, so they were pretty low. Um, but in comparison to what it was, they were much better. Um, we had a couple of, one night we broke down, we let Nia stay in the nursery so we can get some sleep for at least about 3 or 4 hours. Um, I really wasn't eating that much because I was just really, really sick and really tired. But I just really thank God and praise God for preserving my life first and foremost, but also preserving my uterus. I know Morning Glory, who was on here, she had twins, and she had a very scary situation, and she almost died. She almost bled out at home in her bathroom. Um, so it's a really scary situation. But in the process, when I was going through it, I had so much peace. I I never worried about dying, especially also because right that Sunday before we went to church, and we literally had about 3,000 people praying for us. And we've been praying, and our family and friends have been praying. So I trusted God, but it just shows you how Satan, even at the last minute, will try to do everything he can to take you out, take your baby, take you out, or whatever. Um, so that's my story. It's is may seem more dramatic than it really is. It was very dramatic. It was my husband was extremely concerned. He had my mom and his mom come back there with him, and he said it doesn't look good. It doesn't look good at all. And my mom, and he said he asked my mom to pray, and my mom was like, "I've already prayed. The devil is a liar. Can you have my baby?" And she said they started praying. His mom started praying, and he just broke down and cried. And if you know my honey, he's not a crier. He's not an emotional man at all. So I was like, oh, well, at least I know he loved me. Or maybe he was crying like, dang, she can't go nowhere. I want to raise this baby all by myself. He had never held a baby before. So that is my story, you guys. So um, I look forward to seeing other people's stories of their labor and delivery. And I am out at this point because baby Mia is sleeping away with her passy in her mouth because otherwise I wouldn't be able to do this video because she was fussy. Um, and I gotta get ready because hubby's taking me out to dinner. Yay! Smooches.